And see what's going on this evening. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, and yourself?
Good.
I just caught you TV talking about thought in action. Are you talking about how what we think comes to what we call so-called reality? Is that what the topic is?
Yes, it is.
So I heard you talking about something about how everybody think doing a certain way. Would that be considered? Would you consider that as collective consciousness, maybe?
Yes, I would.
Something
very much
like
so.
that, somewhere around there.
Yes.
So in a sense, would you? I believe in all this that you're talking about. I mean, I'm into metaphysics, you know, way of life, or somewhere around there anyway. So would you agree with me when I say that whatever you think, when you think something, you create your own style of living, the way you live? Is that more or less what you're saying?
Very much so. And if people could only realize that in their own individual lives, they could bring a much more beautiful expression in their own individual lives by just being aware of those things. Kicking out the negative thinking that they may have.
Right.
Try to keep their thinking, clean, pure, what have you. Get past the hatefulness, get past the political correctness, get past all of these things that keep us divided, and look for common ground. There's so much common ground. And this America of all places, we're a melting pot. We've got so many different people from all over that have come here, and we can really seek common ground, or we can also accentuate the differences and say, oh, well, you're like this and I'm like this. We're all here together, and we're all, basically we all want the same peaceful death, to quote an acquaintance of mine. We all want that non-complicated life for the most part. Some people do like turmoil, they like a lot of craziness, and they like things like that. But mostly I think people want a calm life. And I would say through a study of esoteric science or metaphysical studies, you can bring that into your own life. And you can bring it over in many ways, whether it's through a religious dispensation. There are many ways that people can find bring peace into their lives.
Right.
But I do firmly believe that a thought is a thing, and that as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is, as is expressed in the Christian Bible. Do you have any further comments to add?
Well, I just want to suggest for any other viewers that are watching this show right now, there's a trilogy of books called Conversations with God.
I've heard of them before.
It might be able to open up a lot of minds out there. I read all three already, and it's just unbelievable what you read on the book. It's by Neil Donald Walsh, and that's pretty much all I had to say. I mean, I'm with you in everything that you say. I don't have really anybody here that I can talk about this a lot. I mean, the people that I talk to, they're only.
I'm the same way, brother. My close group of friends, they don't really have much of an interest in this kind of stuff, and so I can't really rub elbows and chat with my close friends about these kind of things as much as I'd like to. But you will find people. We host philosophical meetings, myself and another Access host, Jeff Contreras, for the show Therefore I Am, every third Wednesday of the month at a place called Opal Divines, which is 700 West 6th Street, and that's from 8 o'clock on every third Wednesday, which is this month would be the 19th. You're more than welcome to come down and express your opinions, and you might find some people that are like-minded as well.
Oh, well, I appreciate your time, man.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello?
Hi, how are you?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Do you suck cock for a living?
Only on weekends. Thank you.
I hate that. Is that my TV?
Hold up, brother. You're almost on. Wait a second. Okay, you're on. Go ahead.
How you been doing, man?
Good, yourself?
Pretty good. I had to do some catching up, knowledge seeking for some things that I missed like about a couple of months ago. Basically on the planet of the Baru. I just want to know your opinion on that.
Okay,
And,
that's an interesting concept, and I really have not studied maybe as much as I should on it. There are a couple of different camps as far as the Nibiru thing, which basically that's what this guy is alluding to, is there's supposedly a planet that comes into our system every 3,600 years, and some people, like the Assyrians, have some records that they, their stone text and what have you, that they, when they were translated, they speak of this planet that came through, and the beings that were on it, how they interacted and infiltrated and influenced our race on the planet Earth. And so the case is supposedly that it's supposed to be making its way back through, and some people allege it's coming in at spring of 2003, so that remains to be seen. I think there's been some evidence through the legitimate astronomical community, people at the observatories and what have you, that are saying that yes, it is a real phenomenon, there is something out there. But as to how it's going to manifest itself, the jury's out for me personally. I personally don't think there's going to be a bunch of aliens that are on this planet. They're going to come in, they're going to all of a sudden interact with us. But there are some people that feel that our occupational government, those that wish to enslave us, are going to use, if this does happen, that they're going to use this opportunity to trump up some kind of alien threat, and that, oh, we've really got to come together now because, look, it's us as humanity against them. And that idea's been around for a long time, that there may come a day when the governments of the world say, hey, they're out there and they're not nice, and we need to come together. And hey, by the way, give up a few more rights, give up a little bit more security, and everything's going to be okay. You know what I mean? Just do what we say, and everything's going to be fine. And so you find that with the war on terror too. You find, just watch out for the talking heads as far as them trying to throw something at you and sell you something. Use your own discrimination, use your own intuition, use your own God-given ability to, to find your way, to filter through those things.
I have one last question before you go.
Go ahead.
If you recall, like about, I think 7 months ago, there was the incident that was on Antarctica.
I'm sorry, they were doing what?
There was an incident on Antarctica with the doctors and stuff being rushed out, the scientists. Do you recall that?
Yeah, I do, as a matter of fact.
And the foreign heat source. Did you recall whatever happened on that?
I never really heard much of a follow-up, and you probably heard that on some late-night radio talk show.
What is that picture behind you? Was it the Tower of Babel?
I'm sorry?
Is that the Tower of Babel behind you, the picture? Oh, you can't.
I can see it. I don't know if it is or not. I have to ask my producer. It very likely will, maybe.
Also, can you tell me what you know about Zoroastrianism?
Zoroastrianism is an early Persian religion.
All right.
It still is in existence. Zoroaster was another great teacher, another great prophet, as many of the other throughout time. He wasn't as great a prophet or great, as far as from a spiritual standpoint as, let's say, Jesus Christ or Buddha or what have you, but he still was a significant player, a significant influence in that particular culture. And we find that different cultures at different times have the proper person come into incarnation in that land that can give them the expression that they need at that time. And so at that time for the Persian culture, they needed some religious influx, some kind of something to come in to revive them, to revitalize them. And so that's through that great being, that's what took place, just in the sense of Jesus Christ or Christianity, or even in a political move, as far as like a Hitler or a Napoleon. And I'm not saying that that was a good thing, but it did take place, and those individuals did change things on a mass scale.
Can I ask one last question before you? Really, I'm sorry, I hate that I have so many questions.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
When Hitler brought into effect, the Nazi sign and all that, what were the ancient texts that he was basing that on?
Well, the swastika itself is an ancient Hindu holy symbol.
I thought it was Norse.
I'm sorry?
I thought it was Norse. It's not Norse?
Well, okay, the swastika is an ancient Hindu symbol. They reversed it or made it anti-God. But there are also the Thule Society and the Vril Society, which were the secret societies of the Nazis. And that is based on some of that Norse, so the white supremacy stuff and all that. And they allegedly made contact with some aliens. Again, you're talking.
So.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I said I thought so. I was trying to find out more about the being.
Yeah, there's a good. Chris Athanas has put a good documentary on about Nazi UFOs. It airs from time to time on Access.
Yeah.
And there's other information as well you can find about that. That's pretty provocative. It's pretty. It's pretty interesting. You got to take it with a grain of salt to some degree, but it's very interesting. It's worth checking out if you have the time.
What do you think the next steps will be of them to take away more of our freedoms? You see how they're basically ushering
out. Oh, it's going to be likely another big attack. I mean, because you have all the political people saying, well, it's not a matter of if, but when. There's some people that are saying there's going to be another attack. I believe there's going to be another attack. I just heard some Democratic congresswoman today saying, I believe there's going to be another attack. They want to be in on that. They have some knowledge. They keep hearing there's going to be another attack. So they want to be in on it to say, I told you there's going to be another attack. Give up more security and we'll be all right. That's their mantra right now. Give up security.
I'm just your average, young black male. We smoke and periodically go out and what have you. Well, how much is it going to take before we actually do something about it, do you think?
Every individual has to pick up their own cross. We all have to be both Paul Revere and John the Baptist if we so choose. It's up to us, really. What in our lives can we bring out as an expression? What are you good at? What are your tools? What do you have at your disposal? Maybe like for instance, the guy Big Rob. I had to give him some props, big time, because I haven't met the guy, but he put out a rap recently. I believe he's a Hispanic guy. He put out a rap. He talks about the New World Order. He gives props to a lot of the hosts here at Access, and that to me is a very informative, creative way to get across to people that may not necessarily vibe towards this idea, and to get them that way, to kind of sneak in on them and get them kind of unconsciously, but then get them thinking. They start hearing those things. Because if you know anything about the rappers, I used to work at some studios on the West Coast, and Like Ice Cube and those guys, they are full force down with the conspiracy theory, and they will talk your ear off for a weekday because they are a lot of it. They eat, sleep, and drink this stuff because certainly if you're an oppressed person and you have a history of your people being oppressed, which very much the black folks do, then you're going to be a little bit more gun shy. You're going to be a little bit more worried as to, what's the corporate cracker up to. You're going to be kind of checking him, and that's all of us at the lower level are all in the same boat. Once we get to that understanding, we're going to make a lot more progress.
So is this about America and Islam, or is this really about Islam and Templar? I guess is this an ancient, basically, battle since the Templars did?
Well, everything has its place in the sun, and everything's going to factor in. So I think it's a lot deeper than that. I'm going to go ahead and let you go because I do have a couple more callers, but I do appreciate your insight. Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hi, are you there?
Hello. Hi, how's it going?
Good,
Hey,
yourself?
how are you?
Whoops, I think I have two folks on. Excuse me, 1 second.
Hello. Hello.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello.
You're there, go ahead.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
I watch you and Alex Jones' show a lot. I'm trying to evaluate your views. How do you feel about George Bush's job?
About
About the whole 9/11 case?
Well, my personal opinion on it is that he's just playing his role in the larger picture behind the scenes. He is merely a puppet, if you will, in my estimation, for those that I term those that wish to enslave us. Again, these are mostly people that are unseen, that have been able to amass power through bloodlines and through the aristocracy and the monarchies of the world for a long time. And so they're kind of laying behind the scenes, but yet they've had all this time, and they had to start early on when mankind did not have the access to communication and was relatively ignorant aside from what they were doled out by their masters, if you will. And so they were limited back then, and so the upper echelon always had an advantage from way back when. They've been able to keep it, and they've been able to amass power and hold on to it.
What about now? I mean, how do you think he's been?
Well, I don't really like to give my personal opinion too much on this, but I don't really care for George Bush. And when I hear him speak, for instance, like Bill Clinton, I feel like was a much better actor than George Bush and his political people around him. And so when I hear Bush talk, it kind of creeps me out. It just kind of gives me the willies, it gives me the heebie-jeebies, and it just kind of creeps me out.
Well, what if he stuck his nuts in your mouth?
Okay, that would not help one bit. Thank you for your insight. Okay. Don't seem to have any calls on board right now. I'm going to go ahead and elaborate a little bit more on that. I appreciate you folks calling, but it would really be nice if we could get thought in action with the pranksters. You pranksters out there that call my show are so unimaginative, so bland, so boring that I question a lot of things. Like, why are you even watching my show? Wouldn't you rather be out doing something mindless? Now, if I am able to get across to people at some level, that's wonderful. But if you're going to call and prank my show, if you're going to call and prank any of these shows, use some creativity, please. Make it interesting. Don't just be boring and bland and use a curse word. That's the lowest common denominator, and that shows where you are, who you are, where your thinking is at, and your level. And so if that's your level, I'd rather not sink down to that level. Whatever.
Hello
Caller?
there.
Hi, how are you?
Yes. Let's see, about those who wish to enslave us.
Sure.
And to enlighten those out there, in your Google search type Georgia Guidestones. And about the Georgia Guidestones, what do you know about it?
Georgia? Is in the state of Georgia?
Yeah, Georgian or Georgia Guidestones. You can type it in your search engine.
I'm going to have to do some research because I can't say that I've heard of that. Has that something to do with some man-made construction?
Yeah, it has. It's an Illuminati, kind of like considered an American Stonehenge in Georgia.
You know what? That is sounding a little bit familiar to me now that you mention it.
And it's in many languages.
Okay.
And on the first line, the first of their so-called 10 Commandments, it says, to maintain the world population to 500 million.
Oh, you know what? That's sounding more familiar to me now that I think about it. Yeah, I think I have heard something about that because I've heard it tied into the globalists. That's true. Anything like that, very much so. Those that wish to enslave us, use symbolism. And when you can become a student of symbolism, you can see and anticipate where they're going. That's why in Alex Jones or people like that that seem to be ultra perceptive, they're able to read through the symbolism and see the trends, and so they can follow through and make the logical conclusion as to what the next step is going to be. Now, these people also, through their use of symbolism and through just their brashness and they're just so bold. They tend to brag a lot. They tend to, they want to rub it in your face in many ways.
Yeah,
and
Alex hasn't mentioned about the Georgia Guidestones that I can recall, and not only that, but I think this ties into Prince Philip, how he wants to come back as a deadly virus to eliminate world population.
Yeah, that's a real noble concept. I don't know. These people at the highest levels, thought in action. The people at the highest levels in many instances are wishing very evil and hateful things upon the mass of humanity. That's going to come right back at them, I promise you.
Yeah, and for those that want to search it, there's a space between Georgia and Guidestones in your Google
Georgia
search.
space Guidestones. Well, I appreciate your call. I appreciate your insight on that. I'm going to have to let you go because I don't have much time, but thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, thanks everybody for taking the time to view this evening. I would like to encourage everybody to stay tuned for Chris Athanas and the Reality Expander TV show coming up next on the same channel. I'd like to thank my producer Chris for commanding the helm of the Starship Esoterica, and I would like to encourage everybody to check us out every Tuesday. We're here live from 8 to 9 p.m. on Channel 10, and if you're interested in the philosophical meetings or other like-minded shows, check out Access Television. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of good information and a lot of information that can be used and be applied in a practical manner so that we can improve our lives and improve this whole condition. Thanks, Austin. Appreciate it. Have a nice evening.